Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today, we are going to be talking about how to be successful in the modern environment with your external workforce. I'm joined today with Derek Sanders, who is the Vice President of Contingent Solutions at Qwil, as well as Jason Zinder, who is the Head of Strategy and Alliances of Contingent Solutions for Qwil. And today, we're really excited to be here with you and talk to you about what we're seeing in the workplace. So the first question we're going to start off with is the modern workforce. And I'm going to shoot this over to Derek and just get his thoughts on what is the modern workforce looking like today and what kind of people and channels is it made up of?
Definitely. Thank you so much. Well, we all know the traditional staffing suppliers in contingent labor programs. And so with that, we're seeing more and more companies that are looking for additional talent that was previously unavailable or may have been treated as full-time hires. And so what they're having to do is expand their contingent strategy. And so with that, they're looking at smaller niche providers, specialty firms, diverse firms, to really identify talent that could help them during this time. And so with the expansion of even that, independent contractors, people that have never been contractors before, are now coming back as experts or consultants in the workplace. So having those hard to fill jobs for high level positions, they're looking outside of what their traditional model of going through a staffing firm is. Also looking at freelance management systems. We all know the FMSs out there. And so looking at different, whether it's clearinghouses, shops, some of our SAP providers like Scout, those are the type of platforms that they're looking to get additional talent, but also direct sourcing, and also the legacy workers. So when you have people that were maybe furloughed or were let go during the COVID-19, they're looking to come back as contractors. And so how are they engaging that? And how are you making sure that compliance and making sure that you have the top talent out there? And so they're having to look at different avenues than they had to before.
And that's great. Can you expand a little bit on what those avenues of engagement are looking like these days? Any tips or tricks that you can share with people?
Yeah, I think that what the clients are looking for is really matching what they're looking for with what their supply base can supply. So number one thing that they're looking for is speed to market, right? How quickly can they fill the position? How quickly can they get to productivity? Leveraging those known relationships. Well, I know somebody that's looking for a job. We all know those friends that we're trying to help place them at different roles. But leveraging known relationships and how do we engage those workers? Cost is obviously a big component of this. Making sure that a person that was making money as a full-time employee with benefits, 401k, possibly stock, they're coming back as contractors. So what's that rate going to be? How do they make sure that we make it incentivized so they want to come on as a contractor? How are they being managed, right? All of us that are working remote now are having the new challenges of managing their workforce. So when you're thinking about how do I onboard somebody? How do I make sure that they are productive? They have the necessary tools. These are all things where management needs to come together with a clear, concise plan on how to engage those remote and contingent labor workers. And then also making sure that the quality is there, right? When they're opening up their portal to new applicants that they would never have tracked before, how do we make sure that we're engaging them properly? Risk of IP, competitive alternatives, making sure that all those compliance, how are they being engaged, right? When people are coming back as potentially W-2 contractors or independent contractors or consultants, do they have the proper documentation? And so what SAP has really worked to do is identify key strategic partners to engage, track, and then pay the suppliers that are fulfilling these job recs. And so matching the buyers and suppliers to what the workforce is bringing to market has been very, very important.
Yeah, and I think that's a really key factor, Derek. I think you pulled out some very good differentiators, especially with SAP. And, I think the next natural question is, this new relationship between the client and supplier and what that looks like. What are some challenges, stressors, opportunities? How can a client be successful in this new world, and how can they best nurture that relationship to get those hard to get talent pools and strategic partners that you're talking about?
Yeah, and I think that with a lot of our decisions, especially during this time of COVID, is, am I being short-sighted with the approach that I'm taking? Did I cut too deep? Did I make the necessary changes in my business model to be successful long term? Right? How do I incorporate our external workforce to be a viable long-term solution? And what results is that bringing? And so what we've been looking at is clients are elongating their billing terms. And so it's putting stress from that buyer and supplier relationship. And so what we are looking for is, while we're filling job recs and while we're identifying new talent, clients are elongating billing terms and it's putting stress, right? So I have to pay a worker every single week, but I'm not getting paid for 60, 90, 120 days. And so with that, what we built out with SAP is a solution where they have baked in liquidity at the infrastructure level. So when a supplier comes in and they see that they have funds available, but they're not going to get paid for those 60 to 90 days, they can log into SAP and through the Qwil application and see that they have funds available. And that's really allowing them to invest into their business, to attract new companies and make sure that they are able to stay within those programs with elongated billing terms.
Yeah, and I'll throw this question over to Jason next, because I think, a lot of people are wondering about, return on their investment, these longer payment terms that we're seeing nowadays. They're definitely here to stay. They're getting longer and longer. Jason, do you want to talk about the implications that has for suppliers and workers and what that could mean for their return on investment and success?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The longer payment terms are here to stay, and I don't see those being curtailed in any way in the near term. And so as we come out of this crisis within the job market, and as Derek mentioned, there's an abundance of talent, but there's going to be a lack of opportunities. And these workers that are coming off of full-time assignments or engagements and are coming back as contingent workers are coming through different channel partners to SAP Supplier Network, as Derek mentioned. And what that then does is those new engagement platforms for the talent, those clearinghouses, those marketplaces, they need to be able to stay functional and they need to be able to have cash on hand. And so what our partnership through SAP does is it allows for that really thoughtful approach to engaging, retaining, and growing the supply base for any particular client. So SAP had the foresight to say, hey, we need a partner platform to provide early payments as an optionality to suppliers who wouldn't otherwise be a part of our broader network, or are now starting to dip their toes into our broader network because of what's happening in the job markets. And what the return on that investment for the client would then be is you're bringing in these niche shops that can get you operational quicker. You're retaining some of the talent and some of the IP that you had to let walk out the door through no fault of your own because of the crisis that the COVID disease has put our job markets in. So it's really a return on investment for the client to maintaining that IP, growing their traditional supplier network to a broader supplier network to get operational quicker.
Okay. And any tips that you can have for clients who maybe don't have an early pay solution? What other financing options are there? What are they? What options do they have, and how do they emerge successfully and not make short-sighted decisions?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, because a lot of these clients that are partners to SAP currently, that they're large Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 clients who have these deep relationships with SAP, be it on their ERP or Ariba or through Fieldglass. And so there are other supply chain finance options that likely those large corporations have in place. But the obstacles there, or the prohibiting factors there, are that the supply chain finance, for the most part, organizations are all in or all out. The supplier has to sign up for all of their invoices to go through the supply chain finance factoring, or none of them. Or if it's failing that, and they do provide some level of slight optionality, there's a floor. And with these new shops and new ways that Derek was describing of talent coming into the SAP supplier network, some of those suppliers have not built up the breadth of their services yet to meet that floor. And so as a result, they'd be scaled out or inhibited to participate in some of those supply chain finance options. Through the partnership that Qwil provides with SAP, we'll take in the single shingle operator all the way to your big four consulting firms. And so we're able to provide that level of competitive pricing for early payment optionality that might not otherwise be available to some of those firms. And so from that perspective, again, I think that there are other options out there, other ways of participating, Christina, as you're talking about, as a supplier to SAP clients, but for the thought leadership that SAP put forward with our partnership with Qwil, really now we're looking at the breadth of that supply base and not just your larger, more impactful suppliers.
Yeah, and with that, in the field glass environment, traditionally there's an MSP involved there too. And so the end client wants the best talent for the best rate in the quickest way possible. What they've done is they have a partnership with their MSP, whether it be one of the larger ones or somebody that provides a master vendor solution. And so they're having to look through different channels and go through different things. And so with the MSP, they're looking for additional partners that they can bring into the ecosystem to bring different solutions, whether it be financial tools like Qwil, whether it be through freelance management systems or direct sourcing. SAP is consistently looking for partners to bring to their channel partners like MSPs that will help broaden the breadth of their supplier base.
Yeah, and in broadening that MSP channel partnership program for SAP Fieldglass enabled clients, talking about using maybe SAP Fieldglass front end Talent Cloud as a module to retain some of those furloughed workers or partner platforms. But what this allows the MSP to do and what it allows the client to do, back to your return on investment to start, is it allows that SAP Fieldglass enabled program to expand the rigors of the MSP channel partner to other areas of the organization. So the rigor that's inherent to an SAP program are cost-saving strategies, transparency, you have efficiencies that brought to bear through automation. And so that level of rigor is able to be expanded upon to other areas, other sectors of a client's business that it might not otherwise have had that level of control.
And with that, MSPs are looking at a few different strategies too, not only the freelance management systems, but or the direct sourcing or legacy suppliers. They're looking at incorporating SOW, the wild, wild west of spend, right? I need a project done. And a lot of the time for not generation one or pre-generation one programs, there's not a lot of rigor that goes into that evaluation process. And so what SAP allows is to bring that rigor and compliance through the MSP channel partner, all within the application.
Yeah, and I think that makes total sense, guys. And I think that's a really good in-depth look, at what suppliers could and should be doing and what these strategic partnerships are going to look like now and going forward, and how some of these folks need to have good foresight and how they're conducting their business today, what financing options they're looking at, and how to move forward successfully, especially, in the uncertain times we are in. So I just wanted to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for your time and knowledge. And I wanted to share with everybody on kind of next steps. If you did want to move forward, with SAP and Qwil, please go to the SAP App Center. Qwil has an application that you can download. Lots of information about how to work with us as a partner and utilize the early pay option. And we just really appreciate everybody's time and attention today. And we wish everybody a successful 2020.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.